No, the beginning of the video should be what we do when the video's not on. How to execute your business growth. Look, here's the deal. If you're frustrated with where you're at in your business, or every day you wake up and you're like, how do I grow my business? You know, or maybe you're frustrated with the people and just in general, like at the end of the day, I know that businesses hit a wall at 5 years, and maybe you're in business 10 years. And really it's about not growing. Because every time I get the call, people are like, oh, I'm losing passion with my business. Would you be losing passion in your business if you were making a ton of money? Right? And I don't think it's about money, but I also want to make sure that we address the right problem, because if it's the fact that you're not growing the business, then that's what we need to talk about. Don't say you're losing passion with the customer or the market or why you started the business, because those things are typically not true. You know, what I know is that when somebody's connected with their vision, the business grows. When they are hiring incredible people that also share in that mission, that are really intelligent and capable, the business grows. When they have a plan of attack, the business grows. Not having those things, that's when you run into challenges. And you know, I definitely understood this challenge, because to me, when I was starting my company Sphere, I literally just like kind of showed up every day. I was working 100 hours a week. I didn't really understand how to run a business. I hated going to meetings. You know what I've learned since then is that meetings are the only tool that you have as a leader. As a manager, as the entrepreneur, the only thing that you can use to help guide and improve and really kind of show people the way is meetings. Now, nobody wants to spend 30, 40% of their time in meetings. So what I want to walk you guys through is a way of thinking about overcoming that, because my business, Sphere, shifted dramatically when I understood. I was sitting down with my advisor, Stu, really a mentor advisor. I mean, I hired him. I put down 150 grand. I said, dude, I need you to come in to look at this business to let me know where am I missing things that are just obvious to you? Because, I mean, this guy was retired, had run executive vice president of one of the largest telecommunication companies in our country. So having that kind of expertise, look at the business and give me guidance, was invaluable. The first thing he shared with me, and he says, look, the cool part is, Dan, you have a vision. Okay? So number one is you need a vision. He was happy that I had a vision. Here was my challenge. I never shared it with anybody. I mean, what's the point of having a mission for your business if you never take the time to communicate it with anybody? And I was like, but what, I should be sharing this every day? He's like, look, there's different ways you can do that. You can kind of have everybody, you could have meetings and recite it in the meeting. You could talk to somebody and say, hey, the work you're doing ties back to this, which connects with our mission. Or when somebody comes to you with a decision to make, and you can just kind of remind them, well, here's our mission as a company. Which decision do you think would most align with that? So he really taught me not only to have a vision, but how to connect that within my team. So that is, you know, if you want to grow your business, that is a prerequisite, has to be there, get on it. Number two is you need to have a 3-year plan. And some people are like, well, I want a 10-year plan. Look, the vision is the 10-year plan. It's what's possible. If I wanted to grow 10x over the next 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, whatever it is, that's the vision. What you need that's more granular is a 3-year plan. But here's the deal. I use one piece of paper to draw my 3-year plan. I literally start this upcoming year, 3 years later, split it up into 3 years, and then what I do is I do it per quarter, and I just kind of start mapping high-level strategies and say, well, what would need to be true for those numbers to make sense? How many people would I need on my team to make sure that I could actually execute the strategy? What kind of budget would I need to make sure that come together? Because that's going to affect the different things that I put together on the plan and what order I do them in. So you need a 3-year plan. The third thing that you need is a 1-year plan. Now, here's what's different of the 1 year. Picture this. You have a grid. You have 4 quarters on your 1-year plan, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And look, I'm the first one to say and admit I hate corporate jargon. I even hate the word quarter. If there was like, look, there's 3 parts to your year or 4 parts to your year, I'll use that. But for you not to have a grid that outlines, all right, we've got the first part of the year, which is 3 months, okay? Call it Q1, call it whatever you want. what are the activities, the projects, the strategies that we're going to execute in each month? So it's kind of saying, well, if the 3-year is just 3 years at a higher fidelity, when you come down to the 1 year, it needs to be broken off per month. And I like to plan in 90-day, 3 months, call it whatever, 12-week windows, because I feel like that's as far as the ability to actually make really good, accurate decisions in your business is going to happen. So those are the first 3. Now, this is when it starts to get granular. Number 4 is you need quarterly review meetings, okay? Once a quarter. Again, I hate the word quarter, but look, what do you want to say? Once every 3 months? Once a quarter, you want to sit down with your team, and you want to do 2 things. First part of those meetings, and I usually say a minimum a day, most often 2 days, depending on the size of your business. You want to spend the first part of the meeting reviewing the previous quarter, the previous 3-month window, and saying, what did we plan and what did we get done? How good were we at executing our assessments? That is the first part, because you want that data, you want that information to inform planning the next part. Okay? So then in the second part of the day, if you do the first part in the morning and then in the afternoon, what you want to do is start saying, okay, we know these things to be true. How do we plan the next quarter to hit our goal? So you have the 1-year plan. You've got the next quarter in front of you. You start planning the strategies. Look, it should not take any more time than that. But most companies don't give themselves the opportunity to sit down and review it. Right? They just keep going, and they get struggling, and then they're frustrated, and they're like, why can't I get any progress made? It's like, well, you haven't planned. You haven't given yourself the gift of stopping and pausing. And really, not only just looking at what you've done, but appreciating and rewarding yourself and building that confidence of achievement. Because I know you're not going every day to work and not making progress, but I also know that you're not taking the time to stop and reflect. And that, to me, is what those quarterly meetings. So you have 3 that are quarterly, and then the last one for the year, for me, it's a yearly planning meeting. So you have 3 quarterlies, the end of Q1 and Q2 and Q3, and at the end of the year, you do the same framework, the same strategy, but you plan the whole year. What do we do for the year? What do we do for next year? And that, at a high level, is super important. So that's number 4. 5 is weekly team meetings, okay? Now, I'm deliberately saying team meetings because the other day, I was working with a private client, and I said, look, they were having some struggles in the business. I said, invite me to your team meeting. I just want to get on there. I'm not going to say anything. I just want to listen to the conversation, the communication, how people report. You can learn so much about a business by just listening to how they communicate. And at the end of the meeting, I called the CEO back after, and I said, you do realize that meeting was a client review meeting. It wasn't actually a team meeting. And they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you talked about all the projects that you guys were working on, all the clients, and how they're doing and how you're going to get wins for them, but you didn't talk about the business, about the marketing, the sales, the operations, legals, anything about improving the way the business does what it does. And they were like, oh. I mean, little distinction, just a small little tweak to realize that they didn't even have the weekly team meeting. So I gave them the format and the agenda, and the following week they had a weekly team meeting. The team was like blown away. It's like, duh. It was almost like a light bulb went off. Of course we would talk about sales and make sure that in our planning we have those projects built in. Right? Of course we'd want to get updates on how are the financials doing, how is the hiring and the recruiting process going so that we can keep up to demand. That to me is a non-negotiable. Every week as the leader you need to be creating these meetings. And then finally, number 6, you need a daily stand-up. You need one moment in your day where the team comes together. And you can do it on the phone. I've used Uber Conference or other conference technologies. You can do it on video chat using GoToMeeting or Skype or Zoom or whatever technology platform you want. Or, and that's why I call it a stand-up, in person, nobody sits down, and it's a really simple format. What are the top 3 initiatives that you did yesterday? What are your top 3 objectives for today? And are you stuck? And it's a reporting meeting. Nobody's collaborating. Nobody's discussing anything. They do it. It should take 6 minutes. And at the end of it, as the CEO and manager, you circle back with anybody that's stuck. That is the high-level framework for running and executing a growing business. 1, you need to make sure you have a vision. Where are we going? What's the journey? What's the destination? Number 2, you need a 3-year plan. You need to at least say, here's where we're at, here's where we're going, and here's the high-level things that would need to be true for that outcome to occur. 3rd, you need a 1-year strategy plan that's like a grid, right? Where you do it on a monthly basis and split it up into 4 chunks, call them quarters, call them whatever you want, but that's how it comes together. Then you need to make sure that you're doing quarterly reviews on your team and yourself's ability to execute. Even if you're 2 people in your company, you should do this. And then you need your weekly team meetings, looking at the different departments in your business and how you're improving those. And then finally, a daily stand-up. Some people call them huddles. Call them what you want. It doesn't matter. You just need to connect, because the team that connects more often grows faster. It's just the way it works. There's more opportunity to not let somebody go off on a tangent or work on something that's not valuable. You need companies and teammates communicating frequently. That is the strategy for you. I'd invite you to leave a comment below. I want to hear from you. What strategy are you going to implement? Are you going to start with the planning? Are you going to start with the quarterly reviews? What thing resonated with you? Leave a comment below. And as per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and grow your freaking business. I'll see you next Monday. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'd also invite you to join my newsletter, where I send out exclusive invites to private events and other free training videos. And if you're ready to go, I got 2 playlists queued up, and I'll see you next week.